Well, good morning, everybody. And as we get started today, just a quick apology. I know this video is a little bit later than I normally get these out in the morning, but I spent a lot of time early today just trying to get the last few things fixed on Nutrien's main ag weather website. This is at ag-wx.com or agweather.com. For example, we got the forecast tool up and running again with all the new databases in place, and NASA's soil moisture data is coming in just fine. And as a result, we're back online with this. So just wanted to bring you up to speed with that. We're going to be using these tools to really keep an eye on the storm systems that are still lined up across parts of the Pacific, and you can see them here on satellite this morning looking at the infrared data. Just multiple systems continue behind the main one, which is right here, pulling moisture from Hawaii all the way into California early this morning, causing a lot of adverse weather across much of the western United States. That's been the target for the last week. You can see our total accumulated precipitation for the last 7 days. Some places in Northern California have picked up well over a foot of rain, and a lot of this has been very heavy snow throughout the Sierra Nevada mountains. We did, of course, last week have the big system that rolled out. This was the one that produced the very heavy snow that stretched from this part of Colorado through Minnesota and Wisconsin, and delivered another round of very heavy rainfall to parts of the Mid-South, South, and Southeast. And by the way, this is going to be an area we're going to keep an eye on this week with this system, not only for the potential for delivering some very heavy rain, but also some severe weather midweek. And we do have another system that, like I said, is going to roll through and maybe give us another chance at seeing some snowfall here. But some of the bigger questions we're going to tackle this week is how much longer will this extended branch of the Pacific Jet continue? Because it has been, of course, a major factor in our weather to begin this new year. But there are some signals that things are going to start to break up, and I'm going to share with you some of that now, and then we'll cover it again in tonight's in-depth video. As it stands, though, the strong winds are going to continue to target the west, and that's where we have our flood watches, high wind watches, and warnings. We have winter storm warnings out for the Sierra Nevada, Northern California ranges, and then winter storm advisories into the interior parts of the west. Some places throughout the Midwest did see a freezing fog lately. High humidities plus the way the temperatures dropped last night under some clear skies aloft allowed for some very, very cold conditions to freeze that fog. So some of you are waking up to some pretty frosty conditions in this area. But again, the main story this week is going to be how many more systems are going to come into the west and how much precipitation are they going to deliver. Because some of the overnight model runs suggested that down in Southern California, let's take a look at these totals here. We could be seeing anywhere between 5 to 8 inches of precip coming in here into the mountains. But you do notice that getting this precip over the mountains is challenging. While there are two systems in the next 10 days that will eject over the Rockies, the way that the flow is coming in here is not allowing for these waves to really just be deep and come off the mountains like they had been in the past. They're tending to come in and make the turn. What is important to notice is that the precipitation totals here in parts of the Pacific Northwest have been coming up with the latest model runs. But again, you notice in Montana, none of these systems are ejecting to return that moisture to that particular side of the Rockies. So we add up the snowfall, and the latest European model is really showing some places getting 5 to 6 feet of snow in the Sierra Nevada. There's better snowpack that is coming into the central Rockies with the next few, a few onshore events here, and the Cascades are adding more than what we anticipated last week. Same with the northern Rockies. But one of the things I really looked at in today's report is snowpack not only here in the western United States, which overall is very good for this time of year with the exception of kind of the southern Rockies, but we wanted to just talk about kind of the whole northern hemisphere in terms of snowpack. It's a critical metric to monitor throughout winter as a preseason indicator of drought issues. And I'm going to take you away from the United States for a moment and show you kind of this whole northern hemisphere view. So this is from Rutgers University over here on the left, and I just highlighted a couple areas I'm watching for below normal snowpack. That would be the southern Rockies, and then the high elevation, the mountains in Central Europe. And the very mild conditions we saw for the last 10 days there have continued to erode that snowpack. And my concern is that may be maybe just an early indicator that there could be drought risk going into 2023's growing season for Europe, should there not be the extensive snowpack, for example, in Switzerland or in the Alps. Those, of course, that feed some of the big rivers like the Rhine River. Of course, we know that is very important for agriculture in the country of Germany. So I just want to let you know I'm watching this quite carefully. Now, when I show you the rest of the planet here in terms of temperature anomalies, there's the warmth in Europe. We've been warm in China, very cold throughout Russia, parts of Siberia, but mild across much of North America. We want to know if this temperature pattern is about to change. So take a look. This is important, I think, for the near and long-term forecasts. Sliding through a 5-day window of temperatures looking across the globe, I want to park this out here at day 5 through 10. The biggest changes are not in the US or in Europe. They're happening over here in much of Asia. Much colder air is coming into China in the near-term forecast. And that is going to be a signal that the pattern coming across China with respect to the jet stream is going to start to change. I believe it's being influenced by the MJO, also the behavior of La Nina. But this is going to signal an end to the extended Pacific jet. And we notice as we just play this out here, getting all the way here past the middle of the month and into the third week, while we're still mild in Europe, we start to see some colder risks in the western United States and certainly colder here, which means the pattern's going to become a bit more amplified in the west. So to show you that, take a look. Northern Hemisphere view, this is our extended jet right now. As I play this forward, we're not going to look at the details, we're going to look at the bigger picture here. Once we get out there past the 12th, 13th, and 14th, you're going to start to notice, in fact, let's go back, to the 0-0 run so we can see out there pretty far. There we go. We're going to start to notice that maybe past that time period, the 15, 16, 17, let's add another 3 days to it, that the jet begins to retract. And we lose that strong flow through the Gulf of Alaska and maybe start to split things up here toward the 20th, 21st. And if that occurs and we end up getting this split flow, this is going to really increase activity for the Tennessee Valley, the Mid-South, the Ohio River Valley, the East Coast, but it's going to shut things down on the West Coast. So that's a big key we're going to have to talk about again tonight in the in-depth report. Until then, you're going to get this strong onshore flow in the west, just repeated rounds of systems coming into the west. Here's the next one by Tuesday. Here's the next one by Wednesday. And as this one comes in on Wednesday, we are going to be watching for a system to come off of the mountains and get over into the Mid-South, Ohio River Valley, that area by the time we get into Wednesday night and Thursday morning. There it is. So some rain out ahead of it, but this is the system I want to keep an eye on because notice it's trying to bring some snow from Colorado into Kansas, maybe Nebraska. That snow may get into Missouri, but some heavier rain to the south could have the risk of some strong to severe storms in this area. And that system is going to roll through and deliver quite a bit of rainfall into parts of the Tennessee and Ohio Valley and then stretch down here into the southeast. Now, this is the system last week that there was some risk of it kind of making its way all the way to the Carolinas and the coast and then running up the coast. But the models trended way back to the west as they've done with so many systems this year, and it's now sitting here over the Ohio Valley. So that system comes on out. And then behind it, we're going to watch next week. This is Saturday and Sunday. The flow potentially bringing in another system starting for early next week in the midsection of the country. All right, that's kind of the bigger picture here. Now, you did hear me talk about some snow, so let's at least look at a couple of maps. This is the probability over the next 10 days of getting 3 inches. So that's that snow swath. We're going to watch right in through there. See it? And then more into parts of New England. Much of the northern plains, even the Canadian prairie, really staying out of a lot of this snow, with the exception of parts of Manitoba getting into Ontario and then eventually into Quebec at the end of the time period. But we can keep stepping this up. This is the chance of getting 6 inches of snow, then 12 inches of snow, 18 inches of snow, 24. We can just keep climbing. I'm going to go all the way up to 48. There's a 100% chance you see here in the models of that happening in the Sierra Nevada and parts of the Klamath Mountains. So heavy, heavy snow with the next 10 days. On the precip side of it, though, let's look at the liquid side of it. This is the chance of getting an inch of liquid equivalent. You notice that the heaviest rainfalls are going to be in the eastern Corn Belt over the Appalachian Mountains and then down into parts of the Mid-South Tennessee Valley. That's our best chances in the next 10 days of seeing the wettest conditions. Okay, from here, I just want to show you what we're again watching with the jet stream past about, like I said, the 16th, 17th, 18th. So here we are on the 19th. We're going to watch this pattern get rid of these deep west coast troughs and go back into what we call a positive PNA. That's where you have a ridge west and a trough here. And that's what's going to accelerate the jet in this area and weaken the flow of the west, shutting things down a bit. Now, because this isn't really forecast to happen until we get out there past those days, I'm talking like now we're talking about the 18th, 19th, 20th, most of the week 2 forecasts remain wet. So this is the CPC, there's the European model, and there's the GFS. But these maps are going to be changing quickly once we get out there and see the next few model runs as to how the 3rd and 4th week of January are going to pan out. All right. Last thing to talk about South America. Models kind of doubled down again on the dryness in Argentina. The wettest conditions are just north of Paraguay, coming off of Bolivia, right into Mato Grosso do Sul, over toward like Sao Paulo, Minas Gerais, and Goiás. The drier conditions to the north are going to allow for a more rapid harvest and then subsequent planting of the safrinha crop here. But we've now just seen another model forecast kind of lose the best chances of rainfall in Argentina, which means they're going to push more through summer with dry conditions in Argentina, which continues to have a negative impact on that crop. So, new week, a lot to talk about. I look forward to giving you an in-depth update tonight. Have a good one. Thanks.